Good evening, my dear friend. As I sit here tonight, watching the world settle into quietness around me, I can feel the gentle weight of this day finally beginning to lift. The soft glow of my desk lamp casts long shadows across the room, and through my window, I see the city lights twinkling like scattered prayers in the darkness. This is the hour I treasure most, when the noise fades away, and our hearts can finally find their way home to the Lord. In peace I will lie down and sleep for you alone. Lord, make me dwell in safety. These words from Psalm 4 verse 8 have become my evening anchor, reminding me that tonight is not just an ending, but a sacred beginning, where God works in the silence, where healing happens in the stillness, and where peace descends like morning dew on weary souls. Before we begin this journey together, I want to know where you are watching from tonight. Drop a comment below and let me know what city or country you are calling home. If this prayer is already speaking to your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of evening prayers. Now let us step together into God's evening sanctuary, where burdens become blessings and rest becomes restoration. I need to be honest with you tonight about the weight I have been carrying, and I suspect you might be carrying something similar. This morning started with back-to-back meetings that left my mind spinning like a washing machine on the fritz. The emails kept piling up faster than I could answer them, each one demanding immediate attention, each one adding another stone to the invisible backpack I wear on my shoulders. There was that difficult conversation with my coworker about the project deadline, the one where words hung in the air like smoke. Neither of us really hearing what the other was trying to say. I drove home with my jaw clenched tight, replaying every word, wondering if I said too much or not enough. The grocery store line felt endless. The cashier moved like molasses, and I caught myself tapping my foot impatiently, as if rushing through one more task would somehow solve the puzzle of this overwhelming day. When I looked in the bathroom mirror tonight while brushing my teeth, I saw exhaustion staring back at me. Not just the kind that sleep can fix, but the deeper kind that seeps into your bones when you have been trying too hard for too long. My shoulders ache from hunching over my computer. My neck is stiff from holding tension. I did not even realize I was carrying. And my head feels foggy like trying to think through cotton balls, but the physical tiredness is just the surface. Underneath runs a current of questions that have been circling my mind like vultures. Will there be enough money to cover next month's bills when the credit card statement arrives? That persistent pain in my lower back. What if it is something serious, and I have been ignoring it too long? How do I repair the growing distance I feel between me and my spouse, when every conversation seems to end in misunderstanding? The future feels like a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing. Am I making the right career choices, or am I just treading water in a job that pays the bills, but slowly kills my spirit? What about my kids? Are they really okay, or are they just good at hiding their struggles, like I have learned to hide mine? The world feels unstable. News headlines scream chaos every morning, and I wonder what kind of planet I am leaving for the next generation. Sometimes I feel like I am juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle on a tightrope, and everyone is watching, expecting me not to drop anything or fall. Society whispers that I should have it all figured out by now, that success means having all the answers, carrying all the weight, solving all the problems with a smile plastered on my face, and a can-do attitude that never wavers. But tonight, as the house finally settles into quietness and the demands of the day fade into memory, I am learning something powerful about the art of letting go. There is something uniquely isolating about nighttime struggles, a loneliness that creeps in when the world goes quiet, and you are left alone with your thoughts. I know this feeling intimately. Those 3 a.m. moments when I lie awake staring at the ceiling, listening to my wife's peaceful breathing beside me, while my mind races through tomorrows to-do list, next week's deadlines, next month's uncertainties. The digital clock glows like an accusation. 3:17 a.m., 3:42 a.m., 4:06 a.m. Each number marking another hour stolen from rest, another hour when problems seem to grow larger in the darkness, like shadows stretching longer as the light moves further away. The house creaks and settles around me, familiar sounds that somehow feel ominous in the deep quiet, and I find myself whispering desperate prayers into the darkness, hoping God is still awake, even when I should not be. During the day, I wear the mask that our culture demands. I am the guy who has it together, the one people come to for advice, the strong shoulder everyone leans on. American culture taught me to pull myself up by my bootstraps, to be self-reliant, to never show weakness, or admit that sometimes the weight of being everyone's rock leaves me feeling like I am slowly sinking into quicksand. But here in the honest darkness, that mask feels heavier than all my problems combined. I am exhausted from being strong for everyone else, tired of having the answers. When I can barely figure out the questions, weary from pretending that faith means never doubting, never struggling, never admitting that sometimes I feel completely overwhelmed by the simple act of being human. The illusion of control becomes its own prison. I have spent years trying to micromanage every aspect of my life, believing that if I just work hard enough, plan thoroughly enough, worry intensely enough, I can somehow force outcomes to bend to my will. I color code my calendar, make lists for my lists, lose sleep, planning for problems that might never happen, all in the desperate hope that control will equal security. But panic sets in when I realize that most of life's outcomes are completely outside my influence. I cannot control whether my kids make good choices. I cannot guarantee my marriage will weather every storm. I cannot prevent economic downturns, health scares, or unexpected loss. I cannot even control my own heart's response to disappointment, fear, or the 1,000 small betrayals that ordinary life delivers. Some battles I am learning were never meant to be fought alone. Some burdens were never designed to be carried by human shoulders. Some problems exist not to be solved by my effort, but to teach me the grace of dependence, the beauty of surrender, the peace that comes when we finally admit that we are not God, and we do not have to pretend to be. And it is in this place of honest admission, this sacred space of acknowledged limitation, that something beautiful begins to happen. Surrender is not a word that comes easily to someone raised on self-reliance and bootstrap theology. But tonight, I want to invite you into the sacred act of letting go of opening hands that have been clenched into fists for far too long. There is a physical component to this spiritual discipline. Try it with me now. Make tight fists with both hands, squeeze until your knuckles turn white. Feel the tension travel up your arms. Now slowly, intentionally open your fingers one by one and let your palms face upward. This is the posture of surrender. Not defeat, but intentional release. Not giving up, but giving over. When I place my financial worries into these open hands and then lift them toward heaven, I am not abandoning responsibility. I am acknowledging that my frantic calculating and midnight anxiety add nothing to my bank account, but surrendering these concerns to Jehovah Jireh, my provider, opens space for solutions I could never engineer on my own. The difference between surrender and resignation is the difference between actively choosing trust and passively accepting defeat. When David surrendered to God's timing about becoming king, he did not stop being a shepherd. When Joseph surrendered to God's plan during his years in prison, he did not stop interpreting dreams. When Mary surrendered to God's impossible plan for her life, she did not stop being actively involved in raising the Messiah. Biblical surrender is not passive waiting, but active trusting. It is choosing to believe that God's delay does not mean God's denial, that his silence does not equal his absence, that his methods might be different from my preferences, but his love remains constant as the northern star. Tonight, I want to guide you through prayers of specific release. Jehovah Jireh, you are my provider, and I release my financial fears to you. Not because money does not matter, but because my worry does not create wealth, and my anxiety does not pay bills. You know what I need before I ask, and you have never failed to provide for those who seek your kingdom first. Jehovah Rapha, you are my healer, and I place my health concerns in your hands. This body is your temple. These symptoms are not my identity, and my future is not determined by my fears. Whether you heal through medicine miracles or the deeper healing of accepting what cannot be changed, I trust your love for me is greater than my understanding. Jehovah Shalom, you are my peace, and I surrender my relationship struggles to you. I cannot change another person's heart, but I can offer my own for your transformation. I cannot control how others respond to me, but I can choose how I respond to others. Teach me when to speak and when to listen, when to fight for connection, and when to release with love. As we practice this sacred release, naming our fears, specifically before placing them into God's capable hands, something miraculous begins to unfold in the quiet chambers of our hearts. The miracle I want to share with you tonight is not the loud, flashy kind that makes headlines or gets posted on social media. It is the quiet, gentle miracle of inner peace that descends like morning mist, soft and real and transformative in ways that only those who have experienced it can fully understand. There is a subtle shift that happens in both the atmosphere of my room and the climate of my heart when I choose surrender over struggle. It feels like a gentle wave washing over my soul, not with force, but with tenderness. The way a parent's hand soothes a fevered forehead, or the way cool water satisfies deep thirst. The transformation begins with perspective. These problems that loomed like giants in my worried imagination suddenly look different through the lens of trust. That financial pressure is still real, but now I see it as an opportunity for God to demonstrate his provision rather than evidence of my failure. That health concern still needs attention, but now it becomes a chance to practice faith rather than a reason for panic. The shift from I have to solve everything to God is working even when I cannot see, is not about becoming passive or irresponsible. It is about recognizing that my frantic effort often blocks the very solutions I am desperately seeking. When I stop trying to force doors open with my shoulder, I can finally see the key that was hanging right beside me all along. Scripture promises that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. Tonight, I feel that sound mind descending like a blessing. The mental clarity that replaces confusion is like switching from a scratched, dirty windshield to crystal clear glass. Suddenly, I can distinguish between what is urgent and what is important, between what requires immediate action and what simply needs patient trust. The 1,000 anxious thoughts that used to ping-pong inside my skull like a racquetball tournament slow down to a manageable rhythm. I can actually hear myself think, actually feel my own heartbeat, actually notice the way the lamplight creates a warm circle of safety in this room. My breathing deepens, my shoulders drop away from my ears, and my jaw unclenches for what feels like the first time in weeks. But perhaps the greatest miracle is the gift of truly restful sleep. You know the difference between collapsing exhausted into bed and sinking peacefully into rest. Exhausted sleep is fitful, full of anxiety dreams and midnight wake-ups, the kind where you arise more tired than when you lay down. Peaceful sleep is the kind where you wake naturally feeling restored, where your subconscious mind processes the day's events without stress, where your body repairs itself while your spirit communes with God in ways too deep for conscious awareness. When I trust that God watches over me while I sleep, when I believe that He never slumbers nor sleeps and holds me safely through the vulnerable hours of night, then sleep becomes what God always intended it to be. Not escape from reality, but the daily practice of surrendering control, the nightly reminder that the universe runs just fine without my conscious oversight. As I prepare to close this prayer, I want to leave you with this assurance that has become the bedrock of my evening peace. There is something profoundly comforting about imagining God as our night guardian, the watchman who never abandons his post, never falls asleep on duty, never gets distracted by his own concerns. Psalm 121 promises that He who watches over you will not slumber. And tonight, that promise feels as real and solid as the walls of this room. I picture the imagery of an ancient shepherd settling in for the night. Watchstaff in hand, eyes scanning the horizon for any threat to his flock. But our shepherd is not limited by human weakness or mortal exhaustion. He does not need coffee to stay alert or caffeine to maintain focus. His vigilance is perfect. His protection is complete, and His love never fails even in our most vulnerable moments. The reality of spiritual protection is not just biblical poetry, but actual truth that affects our daily experience. Psalm 34 verse 7 tells us that the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear Him and delivers them. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you are not entering a spiritual vacuum or divine absence. Heaven is actively engaged in your protection. Supernatural forces are positioned for your defense, and the same God who parted seas and stopped the sun has deployed His angels as your personal security detail. This is not superstitious thinking or wishful fantasy. This is the testimony of Scripture, confirmed by the experience of believers throughout history, who have found themselves protected in ways that cannot be explained by coincidence or luck alone. That time you almost had an accident, but something made you brake at exactly the right moment. That financial crisis that resolved itself through circumstances you never could have orchestrated. That health scare that turned out to be nothing when it could have been everything. But even more than protection from external threats, God offers us protection from internal enemies. Fear loses its power when we remember that our times are in His hands. Anxiety shrinks when we recall that our future is secure in His purpose. Despair cannot survive when we trust that His plans for us are good, even when His methods confuse us. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, its own opportunities, its own reasons to practice faith. But tomorrow will also bring its own grace. Lamentations 3 verses 22 and 23 remind us that His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. The same God who gave you strength for today is already preparing fresh mercy for tomorrow. Each sunrise carries with it a delivery of divine resources perfectly matched to that day's requirements. You will not face tomorrow's problems with today's grace, but when tomorrow becomes today, God's supply will be right on time, perfectly measured, specifically designed for whatever you encounter. So tonight, as you prepare for the sacred transition from conscious prayer to unconscious rest, let me pray this blessing over you, over your family, over your home, and over the dreams that will visit you in the gentle hours ahead. Tonight, I choose peace over anxiety. I choose trust over control. I choose rest over restlessness. I place everything into your capable hands. Lord, knowing that you are infinitely more concerned about my well-being than I could ever be, infinitely more capable of handling my problems than I could ever hope to become. As I speak these words, I feel the weight lifting off my shoulders, like a heavy coat being gently removed by caring hands. The financial pressures that felt so overwhelming this morning now seem like opportunities for you to demonstrate your provision. The health concerns that created such anxiety now become chances to practice deeper trust. The relationship struggles that felt so impossible now transform into sacred space where your love can work miracles I cannot even imagine. Father, I pray for deep restorative sleep tonight. Not just physical rest, but the kind of soul-deep restoration that only comes when we completely release our grip on tomorrow and trust you to hold both us and our future safely through the night. Let my mind be filled with peaceful thoughts, gentle dreams, and the quiet assurance of your constant presence. I bless this room with your peace. I bless this bed with your comfort. I bless these walls with your protection. Let your presence surround every corner where shadows might try to whisper fear. Let your light shine in every space where worry might attempt to take root. Let your angels encamp around this dwelling and everyone sleeping within it. Bless my family with the same peace I am receiving tonight. Touch their dreams with gentle mercy. Guard their hearts with perfect love. Protect their minds with sound thinking. Cover their bodies with divine health. Surround their steps with ordered purpose. Lord, I ask that you continue your work in my life even while I sleep. You never rest, never pause, never take breaks from loving your children. While my conscious mind releases its hold on problems and plans, let my spirit remain connected to your spirit, receiving guidance, healing wisdom, and strength for tomorrow's journey. I trust that nothing is lost in your hands even while I sleep. The problems I am releasing tonight do not disappear into a void, but land safely in the hands of the one who spoke galaxies into existence with a word. The concerns I cannot solve are not forgotten, but held by the one who knows the end from the beginning and works all things together for good. Tomorrow will come with its own grace. Tomorrow will bring its own mercies. Tomorrow will offer fresh opportunities to experience your faithfulness in new ways. But tonight belongs to rest, to peace, to the sweet surrender of knowing I am held by love that never fails. Thank you for this evening sanctuary. Thank you for the gift of prayer. Thank you for the promise of protection through the night hours. Thank you for being a God who neither slumbers nor sleeps, who watches over us with perfect faithfulness. I want to ask you something before we close. What burden are you ready to release into God's hands tonight? Share in the comments below what prayer request you have for this evening, and let our community lift you up in prayer. If this message brought peace to your heart, please hit that like button to share that blessing with others who need this same hope tonight. Subscribe to join our evening prayer family, where we gather each night to find rest in God's presence. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they are not alone in their struggles, that God's peace is available even in the darkest hours. Thank you for spending this sacred time with me tonight. May your sleep be peaceful, your dreams be blessed, and your morning be bright with new mercies. Until tomorrow evening, rest well in the arms of the one who loves you beyond measure. Amen.